Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad that you've joined us tonight for the Winning Women Talk Show. I'm your host, Regina Shearer. And as always, I'm so happy and glad that you have taken time out of your day to join us. Now, depending on where you in the world, it might be morning, afternoon, evening, or night. But thank you for taking that time to spend with us on the Winning Women Talk Show. If you are a regular, you know that each and every week we present to you a different woman, and she shares her journey to doing that special something that she's excited about, that she has a passion about, that she feels driven to do, but most of all, that fulfills her in life. And to us, that's what makes a winning woman. Not making $1 million, not finishing a fast race, but doing that something that not only fulfills her passions and allows her to use all of her gifts and skills and abilities, but also benefits other people. And so we hope that as you've listened to these journeys, that if you've been on that precipice, looking out and saying, I always wanted to do this, but that maybe tonight you will hear something that will make you say to yourself, I've always wanted to do this and I'm going to. And then have those choices of things you can do to be able to accomplish and fulfill your dreams, your goals, your career path, but most of all, your aspirations and vocations. And so we always invite you to be a participant in this show. And so we'd like to invite you to call in to our guest tonight with any questions or comments you may have. And that call in number is 781-384-5587. Or you can email me, Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. Again, call in 781-384-5587 or email me, Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. I am excited and pleased to introduce to you tonight our guest, who is Ivelisse Caraballo, who is the executive director and community organizer of C-Plan. Now, C-Plan stands for Collaborative Parent Leadership Action Network. Now, in her role, Ivelisse is focused on building community leaders in education advocacy. She works collaboratively with decision makers and partnering organizations to co design systemic equitable policies and practices. She is passionate about engaging marginalized communities to advance equity in education and other social justice initiatives. Ivelisse is dedicated to empowering parents and enabling them to collaborate effectively, I should say, with teachers and with schools to enhance their child's educational success, and being a catalyst for change to guarantee that every student is prepared to excel in college, thrive in 21st century careers, and live fulfilling lives with purpose. Prior to her role as executive director at C-Plan, Ivelisse was C-Plan's business operations manager. And then prior to that, at UMass Boston, she served as an assistant business manager and also as a research administrative coordinator. She currently chairs the Brockton Parent Advisory Council, is a member of UPlan's Immigration Policy Committee, the Brockton Community and Family Centers Oversight Committee, and the Boston Engagement Advisory Council for Boston Public Schools. Her academic background includes a bachelor's in human services with a minor in sociology from UMass Boston and certification in diversity, equity, and inclusion from Cornell University. There's so much more to her. She's going to share the rest of the story. So welcome, Ivelisse, to the Winning Women Talk Show.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here.
We are glad that you are here. You're doing a lot of things, but I love that there is the sustaining piece, which is helping parents to advocate for their child's equitable education. And so I love that. Right now, in this day and age, when education is changing so rapidly in terms of how the curriculum is going to look, how teachers are prepared, how students are taught and supported in their academic progression. I appreciate what you do, but we want to know a little bit about you. So if you can tell us, who is Ivelisse Caraballo?
Okay, so at my core, I am a mother before anything else, before any other title. And that's one of the toughest titles that anyone can hold, in my opinion. I'm also an advocate, an advocate, and someone who really believes deeply in investing in people. I'm a first generation American born to Puerto Rican parents who taught me the importance of like hard work, resiliency, and faith. My father taught me a lot about faith. Yeah. So my life has been shaped by experiences that taught me what happens when you do invest in people. As we get to talking a little bit more, you'll be able to see how people invested in me, or I always had someone that I was able to look up to.
Mm.
Um, Offering, so when you invest in people and you offer them opportunities, to recognize like their gifts and their talents and what they can do to live a life of purpose, like I'm definitely testament to that. So that's why I believe in doing the same for others. So today, as the executive director of C Plan, I would say, which is a parent-led organization helping families become confident partners in their children's educational experience. In my role, I help people discover the power that they already have, so that they can build relationships and strengthen communities that help build opportunities for all children and families to thrive. So it's what was offered to me in life, or at least I feel like it was. And so I'm being that person for others. That's
So
in a nutshell.
let me ask you to maybe share a little deeper about that.
Hmm.
Because are you said you were first gen, that means going to college in this country, but are you said first generation American, although Puerto Rico is part of, so am I right? First gen going to college?
Mm-mm.
No.
First gen, born and raised here, right?
Oh,
So
born in America. Okay.
born in America, not. I was the first to go to college in my family, but that's not what I meant by that. Is that I
Okay.
was the first born here, so I had to navigate the K through 12 system as the first generation.
S- Right. So that's a difference. That is a difference.
Mhm.
So tell us a little bit more about that. It was advocating for their children, your parents, I'm talking about,
Mhm.
part of why this is important to you. Are you the only child in the family? Are you, did they do this for all the children? And what got you, you said there's a lot of things that are have happened in your life and connected you to this specific thing. But can you share that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm one of six. So there's six of us in total, right? And it wasn't their advocacy that made this important. It was their inability to advocate for me, that made this important because, again, because they're from Puerto Rico, they really believe deeply in the American dream. So they came over here thinking if we just send them to school, we do this, we just go through this path, this is going to be the outcome, right? That's what they thought when they moved here. And so, but my mom, she thought it was real important for it to preserve my language, my culture, my identity. So she enrolled us into bilingual programs. And so my first through fifth grade was all bilingual program where most of my learning was in Spanish, and all of my peers and my teachers were of Hispanic origin.
Oh.
And yeah, so I was what they consider now an English language learner. That's what they consider it now. So that's what I was. And so when I transitioned into middle school, they removed me from the program because my English was proficient. That was the purpose of the program. My mom was distraught by the fact that I was removed from the program because she was like, "You're going to lose your Spanish." You know, like, I really want my daughter to preserve her Spanish, her cultural identity, everything. And they were like, "That's not the purpose of the program, ma'am. That her English is proficient. She's good enough to now go to general ed classes." And she didn't know how to advocate for me because she didn't know that she's thinking, well, the teachers are the experts, the school have her best interests at heart, they know best. That's what she
Mhm.
thought. And a lot of other families that come from other countries do feel the same way as well. And so they don't ask any questions. They just believe that, you know, the schools are the experts. And so as a result of that, my morale, my grades, everything started to decline quickly, quickly. I lost my sense of belonging. I There was just so much. It just disrupted my educational experience
Mm.
significantly, and I ended up getting kept back that first year. And so that's kind of, you know, like, their inability to advocate for me was what really kind of, it was the very, very beginning of what sparked this work. And I didn't know it then, and I didn't know it till maybe 10 years ago, but but that's kind of like the experience that I had. It was, I kind of had to navigate the education system for myself. I had to explore a lot of things on my own, and figure things out on my own because they just didn't know how to support me. They didn't. And so I think that it was their inability to advocate for me that really helped shape what I'm doing today.
Now, when you said I had to navigate on my own, so what, those are challenges that you had coming at that. So what did you do? What did you do in particular?
So in middle school, I did nothing but get into a lot of trouble. In middle school, I got suspended a lot of times.
Oh my.
Yes. And I'll just, without getting too lost in the weeds of things, a lot of the trouble that I got into was demonstrating my leadership abilities in a way that probably wasn't favorable to the schools and the teachers. But had any adult in my life would have just said, Evelise, you have leadership abilities. Like, these are great. Let's try to channel that into a direction. Let's redirect it to something that is more meaningful, and let's show you the many ways that you can use this productively,
Right.
right?
Right.
But none of the adults in my life did that. I was often being disciplined for being the little leader that I was. And so so that's one of the things that I did in middle school. But now, fast forward, when I was in high school, there were a lot of decisions that I kind of had to make on my own, in terms of, you know, trying to decide what my path was in life. Like, you know, you're still trying to figure out what you want in life and what you're good
Right.
at. So there were a lot of decisions I had to make on my own independently because my mom and my father just didn't know how to guide me. And I ended up becoming a teen parent in the 11th grade, like at the end of 11th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, they really were definitely hands off. They're like, "Oh, you're grown. Okay, all right. We're just gonna leave you to do what you think you do best, right?" And that at that point, that's when life hit me, and I said, "Hold on a second. There's a whole nother life that's depending on you to have it figured out. And you're about to graduate high school and you haven't been prepared for college. You haven't been prepared for employment. You haven't been prepared for life at all after graduation. What are you going to do? Now go." That's when reality kicked in. And I said, okay, I have to take this seriously. I have to somehow finish with my child so that I can move on to bigger and better things. And so that's what I did. I finished. I graduated with my son, and that's the beginning of like this whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So in the interim, I know you did
Mm-hmm.
what you needed to do to support yourself and your child. When did it strike you though that because when you were at UMass Boston, you were doing these other things, right?
Mhm.
And what were you thinking at that time? What was your trajectory? Where were you headed when you were at
Mm.
UMass Boston?
Well, okay, I'm going to rewind just this tiny bit. I actually started my career as a hairdresser, right?
Oh,
I actually started my career as a hairdresser under this amazing hairdresser. Her name is Kines Alexander. The salon that I worked for actually still exists to this day. It's an award-winning salon named Perfect 10. And so I started off as a hairdresser, and the reason being is because I couldn't wait 4 years to have a stable income to be able to raise my child. And so I got my cosmetology license because it takes about 6 months to a year. I got my cosmetology license and I got straight into work and worked under Canessa Alexander for a while. And she taught me everything that I knew about the artistry. She exposed me to hair shows and all this beautiful experiences. But of course, the most money that you make as a hairdresser is evenings and weekends. And it was hard for me to detach myself from being a mom. I'm like, I'm a mom. I have to be there for my kids nights and weekends, right? They're in daycare during the day. I need to be there at night. And so I quickly realized like this isn't ideal for me. And
mhm.
so I have to explore alternatives. So it was heartbreaking because I loved what I did. I was in a good environment under an amazing woman that believed in me, that took me under her wing and was willing to teach me everything. To finally saying, okay, but this isn't working for me as a mom. So I have to rethink about a different direction. And so then I took another quick training, another year-long training, web design and IT computer applications, that landed me a job at State Street.
Oh,
And yeah, so I was working at State Street, where I managed a couple positions at the same time, and I quickly realized like I'm just a robot here. Like it didn't feel meaningful. It wasn't fulfilling. I'm like, what am I doing? This is not me, right? And so just like most women who are very ambitious, I thought I had to like reimagine myself. And then I had to think about how can I go back to school, but continue to work full time so I can support my children. Because at this point, I had two children. I had
mhm.
a daughter. Um, and how can I do these things while still being a full time mom, a mom that was actually present and there for her children, and not taking on the financial burden of tuition and fees? Now, bear with me. Although we know that we can't have it all, we will still try our best to do that, right? Like we
Right.
still try. I'm still going to try my best to find a way to make this all happen. That's when I ended up at UMass. I ended
Okay.
up at UMass because my tuition was waived. I could sneak in a class like during my lunch break. I could sneak in a class right after work, and still be home for my kids and be there for them. And so I was, I had my job. I was going back to school, even though it was 1, 2 classes per semester, it wasn't a
That's
lot.
okay. Yep.
And I was still a mom. I was still able to be a mom. Uh, by the way, I was also still working as a hairdresser because I turned an extra room into my own little studio. And on weekends, I would do hair for like friends and family. It was not
Right.
anything major, but I would do friends and family for the weekends, and I would make a
Right.
little extra money. And so I'm telling you, we always try to find ways to like make it all work, right? So that's what I did for a while when I was
Mhm.
at UMass Boston.
Wow. For those of you who have just joined us, as you can see on the screen, you've been listening to Evelise Caraballo, and she has been telling us about the journey that she's taken. And we still haven't heard a lot about what she does at C Plan, but to becoming the executive director of C Plan. And so we hope that we will hear from you if you've been listening from the beginning. And if you've just joined us, we hope that you will hear some things that will inspire and motivate you, intrigue you. And we invite you, as always, please join us. You're allowed to participate. We'd love to hear from you. And I know our guests would love any calls, any questions that you have, any comments you'd like to make. You can call in at 781 384 5587. That's 781 384 5587. Or you can email me, Regina, at rgbinternetradio.com. We're going to take a quick break for one of our sponsors. And don't go too far. It's not a long break, but if you need to grab something to drink real quick or a bite to eat because you just got in from work, we run to that refrigerator or stove and do what you need to do, because we're going to take that break, but we will be right back.
At Portal to Hope, we're here to help victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and stalking crimes. We provide support, resources, and hope to those who need it most. We believe that everyone deserves to live a life free from violence. If you or someone you know is in danger, please reach out for help. Call us at 781-338-7678. We offer a variety of services including counseling, legal aid, job assistance, and housing support. We also work to raise awareness about these issues and to advocate for change. Together, we can create a world where everyone is safe and free from violence. Portal to Hope is here for you.
And we are back with our guest tonight, Ivelisse Caraballo, and we have been talking about her trajectory, which took her through the higher education process. But somehow you ended up at C Plan. And so I'm saying you ended up because your work at UMass Boston had nothing to do with parent advocacy. When did all of this happen and how?
So I worked for UMass Boston for 10 years. The first 5 years I worked for a research institute that was about informing policymakers about the critical issues that Latinos were facing in Massachusetts. And so that's where I got exposed to a lot of data. That's where I was able to, get exposed to the racial inequities in education, the health disparities, the socioeconomic disadvantages, and also the challenges with immigration. And so I was only supposed to be managing the research projects, but I was learning so much while I was there. And there was just something inside of me that was like, this is wrong. And we need to do something about this. Why aren't more people doing something about this? Right.
Yes.
And so then, I did that for about 5 years, and I learned about this, well, I'll get to that in a second. The next 5 years, I was actually the business operations assistance person for the library, still within the same building, but just a different position. And the reason is because that was a step above what I was doing at the Research Institute. But what I was doing the entire 10 years that I was there was that I became a union steward. I was a very extremely active member for the union there. And I became exposed to this thing called the position audit. And the position audit is basically when they evaluate your position based on what you were hired to do, and they compare it against what you're actually doing. And it may have evolved, you may have grown the position into something else. And so what this formal process does is that it then determines, do you then now have a reclassification? Or do you have a different title? Do you get a promotion? And do you get an increase in your pay rate because of what you're actually doing, right? And so I did that like a good 3 times. Most of my promotions there were through a position audit. And so while I was a union steward, I said, oh, I can't gatekeep this information. I'm going to start sharing this with everybody that I know. Hey, you should probably do a position on it because you're doing a lot more than what you were hired to do. And I would help them through this, and people would like then come later on and say, I got the promotion. It was approved. And so I was not only helping people with like grievances, and I was, and helping the union grow their communications, but I was doing this. And so I'm like, wow, I didn't realize that this was a thing for me. Right. And so now I have the data to kind of support the work that I do about the inequities and things. And then all of this while also being an active parent. I don't want to say helicopter mom. I definitely wasn't that, but I did take on a driver's seat in my children's education.
Mhm.
And because I knew of the data and I had done research of my own, I was constantly challenging the systems, and I was constantly like organizing and mobilizing with parents, like we should do this and we should partner with the superintendent and we should, and it was just happening like naturally. I didn't know what any of that was called. I just did what I felt needed to be done. I felt I did what was natural to me. And it wasn't until I met Julia Mejia, who's Boston City Councilor at large.
Mhm.
It wasn't until I met her through Facebook. I had a very passionate comment on somebody's post, and she saw my comment and she was like, "We need to talk. We need to talk, right?" And so that's when she started putting a name to the things that I was doing. She was able to identify the things in me that were community building, capacity building. She was able to just put a name and frameworks to the stuff that I was doing. And so I started working with her along other mothers that were deeply passionate about their children having an equitable education and a holistic education, which
Yeah.
is, you recognize that they're also a human, right? It's not just academics. This child has emotions. This child
Mhm.
has other aspects of them that also need to be catered, nurtured. And so, so I was an active mom, an active union member, working, going to school. And then when I was going to school, I was going to school for business management because I thought, okay, this is where my expertise is, business and operations. And maybe I'll open up my own salon because I have a cosmetology license. That's what I thought. But we will plan, but God's will always prevail, right? Um, and I quickly realized like I was just getting by in my classes. I wasn't really excelling. I wasn't thriving. I was just, it felt dry. It felt dry, kind of like how State Street felt. It felt dry. And so I prayed about it. As a believer, as a woman in faith, I prayed about it. I said, God, I no longer want to do what I want to do. You designed me carefully, beautifully, made me, and with a purpose, on purpose, with a purpose. So I want you to lead me to my purpose. And I want to say that a few weeks later, after praying, an academic advisor reached out to me and said, I'd like to meet with you. And 45 minutes of a conversation with this advisor, he was quickly like, your strengths might be in business management, but your heart certainly is not. He was like, your heart is in human services and sociology all the way. So do me a quick favor. Take a few courses in this field before we make any drastic changes and just see how you do in these classes. And if you do well, if you like them, then you might want to consider switching your major. And if not, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there and we'll figure out how we can match you to classes where you can excel in. And so I did. I took his advice. I took classes in human services and sociology. And not only did I absolutely love my classes, but I aced all of them. And it just happened so naturally. I had never excelled the way that I did in these classes because I guess it was my passion. My passion just wasn't there. It was just like, I'm kind of just doing what needs to get done, right? But
Right.
no. So when I realized this, and then at the same time, I became a founding member of an organization. initially I thought I'm just kind of creating the village that it takes to raise our children. It was kind of like a support group of parents that are equally passionate, and we can share resources and we can support each other in our, in our journey supporting our children. I didn't realize that it was going to turn into this. I at all. I didn't imagine it at all. And so
Now you're referring to C plan?
yes, yes.
Okay.
When we started C Plan, I don't think that any one of us envisioned it to become what it is today. It was just parents coming together, sharing ideas with each other, supporting each other, and being intentional about getting into decision making tables so that we can help shape educational experiences for our kids. So I'll pause there, but that's kind of how it all came to C Plan.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you paused there because I have a question. And the question actually is going to lead you to that. And it was, but if you had no active engagement with parents, even when you were part of the union, how did that come to be and eventually lead to C plan? So there's your, so there's that little piece that you can help us understand because you just mentioned you had no idea. So you were meeting with parents though
Mhm.
and helping them advocate. Why? What happened that you that came to be?
Because me knowing the data that existed, I knew what was at stake. I knew that, and I didn't mention that both of my children are half black. And my daughter was the only Afro Latina in her class, all in Swampscott, because she was a MECO student. So she was often the only Afro Latina in her class. And then my son, he went to a charter school in Boston. And I was battling different, that was me as a desperate mom seeking alternatives to the public education, not realizing that I was trading in some challenges for others. And so my daughter was experiencing microaggressions and then direct racism at some points. And my son was dealing with hyperdisciplinary practices that were affecting his mental health. And
Mm,
so me knowing the data coupled with my lived experience, I was like, there's too much at stake. I just developed a sense of urgency, like something needs to get done. And so it was that urgency and that passion that was like, no, 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 come on, we need to talk. Like, this is what's happening. This is what's at stake. And this is, I was sharing everything that I knew with everyone else. And it would like get them interested in wanting to do something as well. And they're like, yeah, okay, let's do it. Right. Um, but so that's my why. It was like just me knowing what's at stake and what the racial inequities was producing. Like I believe that it eventually, I believe that those inequities is the reason why our society faces a lot of the challenges that we're facing when it comes to high crime rates, health disparities, like the health outcomes, when it comes to homelessness, poverty. When you get to the root cause of a lot of those things, it's the quality of education.
right.
And so I was like, oh my, all of this is rooted in education. So there's a lot at stake here. We need to do something. That was my why.
Okay. So at what point did you know that your why had to become a what with a how and a who?
I think that with the moms that I was organizing with and Julia Mejia kind of guiding the fact that this can become a what, this can become a much bigger thing than us. So I have to credit Julia Mejia for seeing something in me the way that hairdresser Canessa saw in me. She saw something in me and she was like, I'm going to nurture this. I'm going to water it and it's going to grow and become something. And so I think that's when the why happened, like the fact that this could be something much bigger than us. I was just going along with the ride. I honestly did not think that it would become this. Yeah.
So now tell us what this is now.
Wow. Okay. So this is I recognize that so many parents. I was meeting some amazing parents that cared very deeply about their kids, but they didn't know the data that I knew. They didn't have the courage, the confidence, or felt like they had the voice that I have. And I did what Julia did with me. I was like, you actually have the power. You have a strong voice. You have gifts. You have talents. You have a lot more to offer than you think. So I'm going to help reveal to you what your gifts are and what you can do with them to contribute towards your child's success. And if you choose to, you can contribute to changing systems that would benefit other students as well. And so, what C Plan is now is that we build parent capacity through like an asset based approach, right? We don't we want to meet you where you are. We're gonna go based off what you're passionate about and what you're good at and what you want to do, and then we're gonna show you what you can do with that. And the possibilities are so endless. And so, um, we build parent capacity, and then we also recognize that it benefits school teachers and parent liaisons and other school leaders. It benefits for them to also attend our workshops with the parents because it serves two purposes at once. So one, they actually learn. Some of them have said, I work for the system and I didn't know this stuff. So they actually learn some things. I'm not saying that they don't know any of it, but they do learn some things. But then simultaneously, they also learn how to engage families in a meaningful way that is, it's like, oh my goodness, why didn't I think of this? Because it's about simplifying the language, is about really inviting them to shape whatever it is that you're doing, inviting them to also share their expertise, and inviting them to lead in some spaces. So it's not just about the fundraiser, it's not just about giving them information about their child. It's way beyond that. It's about taking everything that they have to offer and making something great of it, right? And so what ends up happening is that we end up building the capacity for both the families and the schools to strengthen their relationship, to build trust with them, and to build action plans on things that they can work on together, ultimately to benefit the student outcomes.
Okay. So, in your role as executive director, so do you take representatives of this um, Parent Leadership Action Network? Do you take individuals to schools? Do you accompany them to talk to counselors or principals or whatever that the leadership there may consist of, that has authority that will impact what they're concerned about? Do you do that, or do you invite them to meetings? Do you go to school committee meetings? How does your group navigate the educational system to be heard?
So, yes to all of the above. So, yes, in order for me to help other parents, I have to have walked the walk myself. And so, I have been a part of school site councils, I have been a part of district wide councils, I've been a part of, and I'm currently a part of statewide parent advisory councils through Bessie. I am part of coalitions, any and everything having to do with education. I am there. I am and I constantly take trainings and workshops to really grow my own capacity. And so I do all of these things, but when it comes to other parents, there have been exceptions. I have gone to some IEP meetings. I have gone with them to school to help interpret because I speak fluent Spanish. So I will go and I'll be their interpreter. And I've done that, but that's not what we do. What C Plan does is that we don't solve their problems. We teach them how they can solve the problems for themselves because we don't want families to rely entirely on C Plan. We want them to know that they have the tools to be able to do this because they have to become their child's strongest advocate. They're going to follow their child all the way through K through 12. And so we don't want them to feel like, okay, without C Plan, I can't do anything. We want them to know, like, no, I know how to do this. I can just call C Plan as a resource. I can use them as to help coach and mentor me. but I have to be the one to do this. And so that's what we do, is that we coach and mentor parents in their advocacy. So especially the ones that have taken our program, we don't lose connection after the program. That's the beginning of the work. So I coach, and I used to be the chair of the district wide council in Brockton. I passed that baton on to one of the other parents who have taken my workshops, and she has now become the chair, and she's leading it, and she'll only tap into me when she feels like she needs a little bit of guidance, but she's doing amazing things on her own, and she's building it and making it her own thing. And I think that's what I want to highlight the most, is that what makes me the happiest about what we do is that we give parents a set of tools with instructions, but we let them build whatever they want with it, right? And I love to see what they build with it. And so we don't do anything for parents like on their behalf. We don't want to be their voice, and we want them to show, we want to reveal to them, you have a voice, and we want you to, and you have the courage and the ability to use it. So we're just going to give you the platform and go, and we're going to stand behind you in case you need, a little snug, but that's it. And so that's ultimately what we do, is that we show them what they already have and how they can use it for the betterment of the community. And then we'll still be a resource for them. We'll still coach and mentor them as needed.
So this is a question from one of our viewers, and it says, "Hi, Ivelisse. Your story is very impressive, and I love that you are trying to help parents build capacity. I guess you're good at what you do, and it's easy for you to do. Boston is a very big and diverse place. Are your clientele always, no, is your clientele usually varied, or are they primarily always Latino?"
No. So C-Plan is actually statewide. We started in Boston, but we're statewide.
Oh,
Yes, we're statewide, and the population that we attract the most is the Latino population, but that's not the only people that we cater to. So once parents have gone through our workshop series and they have leadership, a desire to lead others, we will then teach them how to build parent capacity in their communities. And so our workshops are available in English, Spanish, Cape Verdean, well, it's Portuguese, but verbally available in Cape Verdean Creole, because that's who's been trained, and Haitian Creole. And so these parents are ready to, whenever there's a need, they're ready to do the workshop series in their communities and build other parents in their communities. And so the more parents we get, like if we get more multilingual families who are interested in this work, we would train them on how to do it, help them with the translating the entire curriculum, because this was developed by parents and translated by parents, and it's hosted by parents, right? So that, because they trust us, parents trust us. Sometimes they rather get the information from us than the school, right? And so it's available. So it's available in multiple languages. And if there's a need for more, we're willing to train more parents, because they then will turn around and become the host of our Powerful Parents program. And they will then teach it at their school or in their districts or in their communities, however they see fit. We just kind of help with like the technical component of it. We'll help you put it together, but you're going to be the one to lead it. Right. And so just wanted to it's not just in Boston, we're statewide.
Wow. This is another email, and it agrees, and it says, hi, Elise. I absolutely love that you are helping parents to advocate for their students, and that you mentioned, again, building their capacity. So when a parent comes to you with an issue they're concerned about in terms of their child's education, that could be anything related to grades, to how they feel in the classroom, to possibly bullying issues or other things that may have a negative impact on their learning, what do you advise to the parent Do you accompany the parent to find out more about this, or do you help the parent have all the information they need to go and pursue resolving these issues on their own?
I have the heart to want to accompany parents and help them through everything, but I don't have the capacity to do that on a statewide level. And so what I try my best to do is I try to give them the resources and the guidance to be able to resolve the issue on their own. So I'll give you a quick example. There was a parent who used to have door-to-door transportation for her child who had special needs. And when there was a transition in superintendent, the new superintendent no longer wanted to cater or offer that service. And I could not take on the responsibility of solving this problem for her. But what I would do is that I would connect her to the right people. I would even like kind of write the email for her and say, hey, here's a draft, make it your own, here's who you would contact, and then let me know if you need me to support you in any way. Long story short, the parent ended up getting restoring that service of door to door. Right now in Boston, there was a parent who came to me and said, my daughter's drinking water directly from the sink in the bathroom because apparently there isn't access to clean drinking water. And I was like, okay, well, let's figure out who we need to speak to and how we will go about this. Long story short, we worked with this parent, along with other parents, worked with the facilities department in Boston to have the touchless water filling stations installed in all of the schools. And so we have over 50 schools that have installed them, right? And they have a schedule for all the remaining schools to get them installed. And so, but this was what a parent, what parents bring to me. I kind of guide them and coach them and mentor them, connect them to the right resources. But that's the most that I can do. I don't have the capacity to be able to solve everyone's problem. And I hope and I pray that C-Plan grows to have that ability to be able to take on those types of challenges where we're able to like help guide the parent a little bit more.
Okay. For if you've just joined us, you are viewing and listening to Ivelisse Caraballo, and we are going to take another quick break at this point for one of our sponsors, another opportunity for you to grab something to drink or eat very quickly. But again, don't be shy. Come on, we'd love to hear from you. Our call number is 781-384-5587, and the lines are open. And or if you are phone shy, email me, Regina at rgbinternetradio.com. So don't go away. Don't go too far away. We'll be right back.
Life can be unpredictable, and when those moments occur, you want the assurance that your family and property are protected. Sabatino Mastrocola Insurance Agency provides insurance coverage and security for every situation: home, life, flood, car, personal, or property. We're here to help you protect what matters most: your future. We are a full-service insurance agency providing experienced experts who speak Spanish, Portuguese, and English to assist you in acquiring the type of insurance coverage you need. That's the Sabatino Mastrocola promise. Contact us at 617-387-7466 or on our website, www.sabatino-ins.com. Get peace of mind today for uncertain tomorrows.
And we are back. Ivelisse, when we took the time to have our pre-show meeting, you were talking about how important it is to you to guarantee that every child receives a comprehensive, high-quality, equitable education, and that they're prepared to excel in college and their career goals and, in their future, to excel in the 21st century. And so you appear to be doing that through the advocacy of their parents. Is there another little piece to C-Plan that we don't know about, or is that the education for the parents can help that happen?
I'm sorry. Can you rephrase it? the question?
Okay, so having seeing all those things that you desire for our children as they move into the future, is C Plan educating parents so that their advocacy for their student helps to ensure that? Or is there another component to C Plan that
Mm.
focuses on that?
Yeah, because while there are parents that only want to advocate for their child and nurture their child's educational success, there are even more parents that are interested in systems level change. And so the next level for parents who are interested in that level, there are a bunch of coalitions that exist in education for them to be a part of so that they can advocate for some of these changes. And so there was a recent win that I want to mention to give an example of what these coalitions do, is that there was a coalition that was working on the right to read. It's addressing the literacy crisis that we're experiencing. By the way,
Mhm.
that's a national problem, not just a
Right.
Massachusetts problem. And so there was a coalition that we were invited into. It wasn't led by us. We were invited into this coalition to have the parent voice be a part of this coalition. And so what they were fighting for was for evidence-based, high-quality instruction in across Massachusetts. They wanted this to be mandatory, and so a couple of weeks no, it's probably been like 3 weeks at this point. um, Mara Healy was actually signed off on this. So that was like a huge win, right? Now, again, we didn't lead that, but we were a part of that because we're invited into these advocacy groups so that the parent voice could be involved. The other piece of it is that Desi was looking for Desi is looking to redesign their website, and they needed not only for an organization that helped with the technical component of it because it's a website, but they also really were interested in really hearing from parents and community members and school leaders, any and everybody who's a part of the school community that uses their website, to really kind of shape what the new design should be. And so we ended up getting that opportunity to do that with our fiscal sponsor, Health Resources in Action. They took care of the technical component of it. We took care of the community engagement component of it. And families were able to inform what the new design should include, what it should look like, what it should include, and how it would be useful the best for families. And so those are the different levels of advocacy there is. It's not just about your child. This depends on the parent and what they're willing to do. And it's empowering to know that you were part of something so big. So there's like multiple layers to what C Plan does, because it's about what our parents are able to do with what we've taught them, right? Like, we just gave
Yes.
you the tools, but this is what you built. And so the opportunities are endless because it's whatever they decide they want to do with what they've learned. So yeah.
So along this journey, what has been, I know you've had quite a few, but what has been one of the common and greatest challenges that
One
you've
of the
encountered in your journey?
In terms of the work itself, one of the biggest challenges is shifting the way that family engagement has done historically, as the way it's been done historically. In the past, it has always been thought of like, what we call a passive engagement, where they attended a meeting or an event, they helped with the fundraiser or the trunk or treat event or something like that, right? That's how it's been done historically. Trying to help shift the way that it's been done to kind of have families be a part of shaping the educational experience of students has been really tough. And I want to say this: our job is not to tell teachers how to teach. We know that they're the experts in instruction, right? What we are the experts of is our children, and we have other expertise that we bring into the space. We have parents that are entrepreneurs, that are healthcare professionals, that are musicians, you name it, right? And so what we like to do is say, we have a lot that we can offer. in ways that it can enrich the educational experience of students, let's just merge both of these expertise. You're the expert in instruction and teaching. We're experts in who our children are and how they can learn best. And we have all these other assets and talents and gifts that we can share with you. We can definitely do a lot of things. So our goal is to help them identify the strengths, merge them so that they can have a strong partnership in shaping education for students.
That's awesome. Um, what makes that a challenge for you?
So it's a bit challenging because, in our complete transparency, we have to convince foundations and schools to invest in a partnership with us. And it's really difficult because it's like you don't know what you don't know. So if they don't know what parents are offering, it's kind of hard for them to say, sure, we'll invest in this partnership. So we've had to kind of give a few freebies so to help people learn. It's kind of like, when you're in the food court at the mall and you get that free taste of the chicken that they give you on a toothpick. And then you're like, okay, now I have to have this because I have the taste in my mouth, right? We've had to kind of give that free sample out to get people to taste what we have to offer. And then they're like, oh, yes, this should exist in every school. Like, this is amazing, right? We recently partnered with 2 community schools in Haverhill. And they were like, oh my goodness, we absolutely love this. And, they're like, we're going to try our best to do this every year with a different cohort of parents. Because once they get a taste of it, they're like, okay, now we see what it is. So I think it's very challenging for us to get investments through partnerships and foundations because it's new. It's completely new.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that answers it. I was saving it, but you answered it because this person said, do your parents go to schools and talk about this program? Do they talk about it to the teachers? Do they talk about it to the administrators? Do they talk about it with the students? Do they take students that they have advocated, their students, and have their students talk about how they value their parents' advocacy?
Yes, yes, yes. So once our parents have gone through our program, they try to go and market this in every school that they're in or even the district. And so the reason I was able to pass over the baton to a new parent to chair the district-wide parent council. By the way, this was somebody that I don't want to say doubted herself, but she wasn't entirely confident in taking the lead the way that she did. Once she took the program, she's like, this is the missing piece of education. Like, C-plan should be in every school. And so she then took on the responsibility not only to chair the district-wide council, but now she's advocating for strongly for Brockton Public Schools to partner with us so that we can teach and build the capacity not only for other parents. And so we also have like the school staff that attended the workshop series with parents in Haverhill are also advocating and trying to figure out a way that we could do this every year. We've worked in Worcester, like yes, they do. They want it once they attend it, they're like, yes, we want everybody to know about this. So
well, I'm glad to hear that. Evelise, believe it or not, this program is over, but I want to thank you. I'm excited about what you do. I'm excited for the parents who have that confidence to advocate for their students and for other students. And I wish you nothing but the best in what you're doing. And thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you so much for providing an advocacy group for our children that lives right in their own homes.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an honor and a pleasure.
For those of you who have spent this time with us, thank you so much. You know that we'll be here next week, same time, same place, with a different guest, and we hope that you'll be here. Remember, if you've heard something tonight that inspired you and got you excited, that's good. So now say to yourself, if she can do it, so can I. And as you go through this week, each and every one of you, don't forget to love somebody.